Last couple days for anybody. Always want to give you guys that opportunity. And also this morning, I want to remind you guys if you want a certificate, just email me the name you want on that certificate, and we'll get that together. I'll send that to Sue. She'll put that together, and she'll email that to you. So again, we've got all day. Doesn't have to be right now, but if you want that certificate, email that to me. My email address is jsmith@vactor.com. So with that, if there's no other questions, we'll get started. We'll get going here this morning.
Hey, got a shape. Yeah. Well, really got my shoe on.
Hey, let me share my screen here, and we'll get rolling. Okay, next up is pneumatic. We're going to talk about pneumatics on these trucks. If you're following along in the with the PowerPoint, we're on page 137. Move my screen here so I can see things. All right, pneumatic systems. Pneumatic is air. With components that are controlled by the air on these trucks is the transfer case, so the shifting. We shift that transfer case so the power from the transmission will go to the blower or the hydraulic pump to drive the fan system. So we divert the power from the rear wheels to those components. The vacuum relief valve, so push the button, it moves that butterfly to open, push the button, that moves the butterfly to close. The next one down there is continuous fill. That is an option on these trucks. For you guys that don't know what that continuous fill option is, that is an option you can get on these trucks. So you can leave the hose connected to a fire hydrant. So if the truck is parked at a fire hydrant, you can keep it hooked up, leave the fire hydrant valve open. So there's a continuous water supply going to the truck, but there's a valve on the water fill piping that opens and closes. You can actually set the point at how full the water tanks are for that valve to open. It starts filling the water tanks, and again, you can set the point on how full the tank is, the water tanks, to close that valve. So you can set it so when the water gets to 10%, that valve opens. When it gets up to 90%, it closes. So it's like what we call continuous fill. That hose is always hooked up to the truck and the fire hydrant. Fire hydrant's on, so we have a continuous water supply to the truck. So that's an option on the truck. That's controlled by air. The next one down is creep drive for the vac on the go option. Again, it's an option on the truck. That's a pretty big option on there, but the creep drive, well, first off, the vac on the go, that option, it's the option. Some of you dealers probably seen these. These options. That option is not very common. Vac on the go is so you can run the vacuum as you're driving down the road. Okay, you're limited to your speed. There's a third pedal for your left foot in the cab that controls the forward and backward motion. The further you move that pedal, the faster it's going to go, but you're limited on your speed to like 12, 15 miles an hour. And then that's the foot pedal is the creep drive. That foot pedal is controlling that creep drive forward, backward, and the speed. And the engagement of that creep drive is done by air, just like the shifting of the transfer case. Very similar to that. Next one down there is the hose reel lock. We kind of talked about that already a little bit, but it is controlled by air. You push the button, it controls the solenoid. The solenoid sends air to lock or unlock that hose reel, the pivoting of that. And then the pinch roller, I talked about that a little bit yesterday. The pinch roller on top of the hose reel to keep the router hose wrapped nice and tight on the hose reel. That's by air. Push the button, it pushes the roller down, pushes the button, it releases that air pressure. And then the rod and pump valves the inlet valve, and then the valve to open and close to divert the water to the hose reel. Those are all the things that's controlled by air on these trucks. The airlines, we got here on the right of this slide. You got the chassis air tank. There is a protection valve there. So it's 70 degrees, 70 psi of air pressure. If we get down to 70 degrees, it turns off. Close that valve so we're not starving the chassis of air. So it goes through that protection valve, then it goes to a pneumatic block. Most of the chassis, that block comes from the chassis. It's a little manifold that's normally mounted on the rear frame, the frame of the truck, depending on which chassis, where that's actually located on the frame. But from there, the air goes to the different components. The air manifold there at the bottom left, we're going to go through. On the top left, the rotor pump switches, that should look very familiar. We're going to touch on that real briefly just to remind you. And then goes to the hose reel. We'll go through the components on there real quick too. Speaking of hose reel, okay, there on the left, the hose reel lock and the pinch roller, those that switch, if you remember, that is on the CAN bus, so that does not directly control the air. You push that button, it sends out the signal on the CAN bus to lock or unlock the hose reel or engage or disengage the pinch roller, and that's controlling a solenoid, and then that solenoid is controlling the air. And then on the right is that control panel, air swing. You hit that, that's actually sending air to that pintle to move that pintle to unlock or lock that panel. All right, the hose reel lock and pinch roller, those solenoids, those are actually mounted on the back side of the hose reel. So you'll have to take that cover off to see those. If you don't have the pinch roller option, you're not going to have that lower solenoid, but you're always going to have that hose reel lock solenoid there. Then the MC41 is mounted on the bottom side of that frame. The rudder pump valves, we've been through this yesterday. That switch for the hose reel main water control valve, that's sending air. There's air coming to this switch. The position of that switch sends the air to that valve to open and close. And then the inlet valve, same thing. Air is going to the switch. The switch is sending air to open or close that valve. There's that schematic there. I put this together. Basically, it's just showing that air is coming from the chassis, going to each switch individually, and then depending on the position of that switch, if we're opening or closing each of those valves. The pneumatic manifold, okay, this is being fed from the chassis air, and then on this manifold, things we control on there is the shifting of the transfer case, that vacuum relief valve to open or close, and then the creep vac on the go creep drive, the shifting of that option, and the continuous fill. Those controls are through this manifold. If you remember from the first day, I showed you guys where this is located at, but it's on the driver's side of the hydraulic manifold on our hydraulic fluid tank. Okay, so this is on the driver's side. So if you're standing on the driver's side of the truck looking at this, the valves, one all the way here to the right is the shifting of the transfer case. One to the left of that is the vacuum relief valve. Okay, those are all the trucks are going to be the same, the locations of these. Okay, so every truck out there, this should be the sequence of these. So the next one to the left of the vacuum relief is going to be the creep drive, back on the go, shifting to that. If you have that option, you'll have that a valve there. And the continuous fill will be the one all the way to the left. If you haven't that option, you'll have a valve into that location. There's the schematic. You can get this schematic in your build ticket. This is schematic that shows the valves for all of those. If you only have the transfer case and the vacuum relief valve, the schematic you'll see won't have these other lines on there. The vacuum relief, again, if you don't remember which valve does which, you can go by the color of the hoses. The vacuum relief valve is the two black hoses. So the hoses at the right to the bottom of that valve, they're black. That tells you it's the vacuum relief valve. And then the transfer case shifting is the red and green ones. Red is work mode, and then green is the road mode. Red, you're stopped, you're working. Green light, you're going, so it's the road mode. That's how I remember the two. So if you're looking at the shifting of the transfer case, you check, are you getting the right air pressure on the right hose at the right time. And a quick note on the shifting of this transfer case, there are two ball switches. If you're used to a plus, there's only one ball switch on those. These have two ball switches. Okay, the airlines, let's go back to the previous slide. These airlines, they go on the back side of that for the shifting of that. And then this rod, if you can follow my red dot, this shaft goes in and out. That shaft is this right here where that red dot is. This is on the front side of the transfer case. So there's the two ball switches, road mode ball switch, and the work mode ball switch. Okay. Only one of those should be met at a time. Okay, you should always see one or the other. You should never see both, and you should never see neither of those ball switches. And if you forget which one's which, the lower one's closer to the road is a road mode, and then the upper one is the work mode ball switch. So if you're having an issue with not shifting different modes, jet mode, combo mode, road mode, whatever mode, this is an area where you can look at. Could be an issue here with these switches. We'll get more in depth in that when we're looking at the screens. I'll show you some screens where you can actually look at the position of those ball switches. So, all right. So just some quick things on the air systems on these trucks. Any questions there, guys? Yeah, that's usually really pretty simple, self-explanatory information there, but I want to make sure everyone knew that there's air systems on these trucks. So let's get the next subject up here. If there's no questions on the air, we will. Let me push the right buttons here. And if you're following along with the PDF, next up is wireless. It should be on page 145. So we'll talk about wireless next here. Let's see. All right, the controls. Again, you guys are technicians. To me, technicians have some pretty common sense. So I'm going to run through a lot of this pretty quick, but like the controls, like the first one, hose reels, speed potentiometer. Hopefully you got, again, being technicians, you have enough common sense to know that hose reel speed control is going to be doing the same thing as the potentiometer on the control panel. So if you turn that clockwise, I'm going to be able to turn that pay in and pay out that hose reel faster. Counterclockwise is going to go slower. Pump, that's the rotor pump on and off. If that switch is like the switch we have on the plus. You have to pull that switch up a little bit and then flip it up to the on position. Again, a safety thing, so we don't want someone accidentally turning on that router pump and starts pumping water, spraying water. The next one is the water pressure. Again, just like what you have on your control panel. Clockwise will give you more flow, more pressure. Counterclockwise, less flow, less pressure. Throttle up and down. The vacuum enable, disable. And along the bottom here, these black controls are paddles. This isn't a good picture, so I flipped it on its side to give us a better view there. The panel on the left, hose reel, pay in and pay out. Again, if you forget what these are, they're tagged. The one on the right is the boom control, the boom paddle. So just like the joystick on the control panel, up, down, left, right, extend, retract. You got the knob will twist for extend, retract. And then if you have a 5x5 or the RDB boom, you're going to have another paddle that looks like the hose reel paddle to extend and retract that debris hose. And then there's the e-stop button on the side there, that big red button. That's the e-stop. Basically, when you hit that e-stop, you push that in, it turns off that belly pack. As long as there's communication going on between this is the transmitter. So if there's communication between the transmitter and the receiver, everything's good, everyone's happy. If you hit that e-stop button, it turns off that belly pack. The receiver doesn't see it anymore. It thinks, hey, there's a problem here. Puts the truck in the e-stop. So if you get out of range with this, it loses that contact with that belly pack, puts the truck in e-stop. This has got a range of 1,200 feet, plenty more distance than what you really want to run these trucks. And so if you've got a problem, you walk around the back side of the truck or something, it loses that link. I'd be looking at the antenna on this. So just to give you a little nugget there. There is a screen and some control buttons on these. Again, the plus, if you're used to the plus didn't have the screen. Everything else is the same, but the screen, there's some different screens we can look at, some information you'll see on this screen. The upper right is the battery level. The batteries in these things are rechargeable, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit here. But the battery is rechargeable. It gives you an indication of how much charge are in the batteries. In the upper left is the signal strength. Told you guys it's communicating with the receiver on the truck. Just gives you the signal strength, just like what you see on your phone. The buttons on the upper left is page forward and page back. There's 3 different screens we can look at here, as far as operation anyway. So you can you can flip through the different pages that way. There's a light sensor, a status LED, and a communication LED. As far as just normal operation, diagnostics, the status and LED you might want to notice, but just so you guys know what those are. The power button, and then we got the footage counter reset. So, some of the operators, once they get the nozzle sitting in the line, they reset that footage counter so they know with the footage counter when that nozzle is coming back to that manhole or the end of the pipe anyway. And then the alarm silence. We saw Matt using that yesterday when he was doing the winterization. He turned on the router pump. There was no water in the water tanks, so he was getting the little water alarm. He can silence it there. Turning on the transmitter, okay, the power button, hold the power button until you see Vactor come up. Once you see Vactor, let go of the power button. It's going to have you release the e-stop button. Then it's going to say connected to serial number whatever the serial number of your component on your truck. That number is going to change from truck to truck. But as it's communicating, you'll get this. Once you see the home screen like this, the two components are talking, the transmitter and receivers talking to each other. It's all set. You're ready to get going after you push the remote switch on the setup keypad. Okay, if you're using the wireless, you hit this, the blue LED will illuminate. If you're using a wired pendant, connect that wired pendant. I believe I'll go through this here in just a couple minutes. But hit that remote button and the green LED will illuminate. So you'll get that visual there of which control you have powered up. The different screens we can look at. We'll look at this real quick here. But the home screen here, you can see the first line, it says speed. To the left of that is foot per minute. So as this hose reel is paying in and paying out, it's going to give you a speed, feet per minute. Next one down is the footage counter. You know, are you 400 feet out, 300 feet out, 2 feet out, whatever. You get the water pressure and the water flow. And that last line, if you have that option for the water level, you see here it says 100%, so the water tanks are all completely full there. So whatever the water level is, again, if you have that option, it will be displayed there. Next page is chassis information on top. So chassis RPM, fuel level, which I think is pretty handy for the operator. If he's been running that truck for a while, he knows it wasn't full of fuel. If he's wondering if he needs to be stopping and going and getting fuel, instead of climbing up in the cab and looking, it's right there on his wireless. It's also on the gauge or on the screen on the hose reel if he wants to go there. We'll look at that a little bit later. But next line down is the load, how much of a load is on that engine. Next line down is blower RPM. If there's a fan, it'll give you fan RPM there. Again, blower, you'll get the vacuum level. And then if you have the body level option on your truck, it'll tell you how full that debris body is. And then the third page is just a combination of the two previous pages. Some of the selected information from the two previous pages, I'll display it on that third page. All right, turning off the transmitter, really pretty simple. Bring the engine to idle, open up the vacuum relief, push the remote button. Push that remote button, the LED goes off. Hit the e-stop button, that'll turn off that belly pack. Speaking of turning off that belly pack, again, as technicians, I want you guys to know this. There is a timer in that belly pack. So if it just sits there with no action, no buttons being pushed, an hour, it's going to turn off itself. Okay, so just so you guys know, as technicians, is that something the operator is going to bring up? Hey, this thing turned off by itself. You start asking questions. How long was it sitting there? Like I said, an hour it turns off. It turns off. If that system's turned on, that remote button switched on, you got that blue LED. That belly pack hasn't been touched for an hour. It turns off. It's going to put that truck into e-stop mode. So just so you guys know about that, so you're not going down a diagnostic path that you don't need to be going down. Let's see, the next one. There is a screen on the hose reel screen. You can look at the operation of all these controls. And you'll see where that's at when we get to the screens a little bit later today. But you can move the potentiometer is going to give you a value of what position it's at. The switch, it'll tell you if the switches are up or down, on or off. The paddles, as they move, you'll get these green bars depending on how far you've moved that paddle. The hose reel, the boom controls. You'll get that blue bar telling you how far you've moved that control. Good diagnostic screen if you're having like let's say the hose reel pay in pay out is not working. You can go to the screen and see if you're getting that signal. And then just so you know, that receiver is a module, so we do use that for some outputs. Again, just so you guys know what you're looking at on the screen. If there's a green box, that output is going to be on. Okay. Across the top, you can see the battery level. Right now, there's no signal of what the screen says, but you'll get some information across the top there. Right. The location of these components, the wireless receiver, as technicians, you guys might need to know where this is at, but it's in the junction box. The fuse panel is in the upper left of that picture. So where I was standing taking this picture is the micro strainer, where that micro strainer is at. I was looking toward the front of the truck. It's mounted right behind the cab. There's a panel you have to take off to see where to actually see that receiver. Then the antenna, the wireless antenna, that's where that's located at. You can see, again, if you're following my red dot, that's where that fuse panel is. So that receiver is back behind that fuse panel. And then you see the antenna, again, just so you know where that's at. Storing the transmitter, there's a docking station in that control in the toolbox, right there with the controls for the body. When you're not using that, keep that transmitter in that docking station there. That's going to charge up the batteries in that docking station as long as the voltage on the truck is 12.5 or 12.6 volts or higher. Okay, so if it's not being used, store it there. If it's never put in there, the batteries aren't going to charge up. The battery's going to die. Well, let's go to this next screen just for a quick note for you guys. I showed you this docking station on the back of the hose reel. There are no wires going to this docking station, so this one does not charge up the batteries. Only the one in the toolbox charges up the batteries. Okay, if the operators left this out for a week, whatever, they have totally discharged the batteries on this. This will not recognize the transmitters put in this docking station. Normally, there's some charge left in that battery. When they put that in there, that docking station sees that little bit of a charge, and it'll start charging up the batteries. If that battery is completely 100% dead, it will not see that transmitter put in that docking station. And it will not charge up the batteries. If that, like I said, if those batteries are 100% completely dead, one thing you can try is pop that in and pull it out. Do that a few times. That'll give it just a little bit of a charge to recognize it and then start charging it. A couple times that wasn't enough. What I had to do was there's a cord for the wired pendant. Right there, again, if you can follow my red dot, there's a connector, and I believe Matt's going to show us this when he would go down to the truck, but connect the cord to that, and then the other end of the cord to the connector on the hose reel frame, and that will charge up the batteries. All right. Yeah, here's that wired pendant. Okay, if you've got the wired pendant, if you got a telescopic boom, you'll have the pendant on the left. If you've got the RDB or 5x5, you'll have the pendant on the right. Okay, the only difference is the two buttons for the boom controls, the boom up or the hose up and hose down. But otherwise they're all the same. There's the power button. Turn on that, and then you'll have to push the remote button on the setup control pad, and you'll get that green LED. But first, before you can turn it on, you have to connect this wire, the cord. Okay, the wired pendant. Okay, one end of the cord goes to the pendant itself, and then the other end goes to that connector on the hose reel. Now you can turn on the wired pendant, hit that remote button, you'll get the green LED. Now you can use this to control the boom and the throttled vacuum relief. There's also an e-stop button on there also. But this is the wire, the cord you're going to use if the belly pack is completely dead, the batteries are dead. You want to charge it up this way. Connect the wired this cord to the belly pack, the other one to the hose reel frame. Like I said, that'll start charging up the batteries. All right, with that, I'm going to hand it down to Matt. I think, if I remember right anyway, sorry I didn't talk to you about this, Matt, but I think he's going to show us connecting the cord to the belly pack. So I'll hand it off to Matt if he's ready.
Always takes me a second to make sure that the video somewhat gathers where I planned on being. Morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm going to show you guys some earth-shattering, absolutely unbelievable stuff. No, I'm not really. Just going to make sure that we talk about a few things. First and foremost, Jerry will have a really hard time showing you how to do this one with any sort of a PowerPoint. So lift the lever, raise it up, lock it. All right, we're just going to get that one out of the way right now. We got a lot of people that just operate this without ever loosening this, and they wear that friction out, and then it just flops all over. You got to get inside there to adjust it. So let me just get that one out of the way right now. I don't expect you guys to be able to see the screen, so I'm just going to just go through the buttons again, press and hold. It's going to make me exercise my e-stop. It's connected, and then I can turn my remote on. We're in wireless. I have this cable connected to right here, and then down over here. If I have a wired pendant, this cable is the only way that pendant works. This truck is not equipped with a pendant, so this wire that's in the toolbox connects to this belly pack, and all it is good for is charging. Just charges. If I want to use my belly pack, I have to stay in wireless. If I'm using the pendant, then I will plug my pendant in and I'll press the button again, and it will recognize the pendant, and it'll be a green pendant over here in the corner of the display. So that's the cable. That's how it connects.
If
Not
the
really.
if the
Right,
transmitter
say that again?
if the transmitter's not working, are you able to operate that off of that cable, the belly pan?
If it's just because the batteries are dead, yes. Yeah, it's just for charging. That's all it's for. It does not communicate through there. It's just charging. So you still have to put it in wireless. You have to let it charge up just a little bit until the module will actually turn on. Right, that's pretty good. What else was I going to show you guys on the wireless? Oh, I was going to show you the e-stop. This one's going to be kind of fun. We're going to come back to this in a little bit anyways with the control panel. You got to have it in wireless. I thought I did. I didn't look up exercise. All right. Once it connects, turn the wireless back on. All right, now we're in wireless. So I can hit the e-stop. There's going to get a message up here. You can see the red LEDs. The only time you'll see red LEDs is when the e-stop is pressed. Clear that message if you want. I can activate. Let's see if I turn this back on and you run back through the e-stop. Once it connects, you get that message up that Jerry talked about. It tells you what to do. You'll see the chasing lights down here. If you clear this message, the lights go away. So lights are gone, but I'm still red everywhere. Well, now what do I do? Well, if you read the message and take it literally, what it's going to tell you to do is you got to climb back in the cab, go back out of jet mode and back into jet mode, or you can just reset the e-stop and then your lights come back again. And then now we're back to wireless, all of that. So sometimes it's just easier to show everybody, let everybody see the lights. Kind of like one of those things you can read any picture book in the world. It makes more sense because there's pictures. That's kind of the gist there. That was it for the wireless, wasn't it, Jerry? I don't want to jump too far ahead. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Okay.
All right, cool. That was just a couple things with the wireless. It mimics the controls on the control panel, so nothing earth-shattering by any means. All right, guys, carry on.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Any question for that, guys? All right. Okay, we're going to get into the IntuiTouch screens here, guys. So that worksheet, the worksheet I wanted you guys to print off, we're going to go through this. Well, actually, I'm going to go through the PowerPoint. With the PowerPoint, we'll go through some of the pages on the worksheet, and then we'll go down to Matt, and actually he'll be pushing buttons, and we'll go through the this worksheet. I had meant for you guys to go through this, at least the screen on the hose reel on your truck, answer those questions. But we'll go through it all, kind of answer any questions that you have as we go through this. But just some information here on the screens. Like I said, we're going to go through a few things on the PowerPoint before we get down to Matt. The in-cab, it is a, let me find my control here again. There we go. Okay. It is a touch screen. Well, actually, first off, again, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, you guys as technicians. The screens, there's a screen on the hose reel and a screen on the cab. The actual screen, just so you guys know, when you understand when I say MD4, MD4 is the manufacturer model of that. Okay. That MD4 is this, it's the same screen in the cab and on the hose reel. It's the same screen. It's just the only difference is the buttons on the outside of that. So obviously the programming in them is different, but the screen itself is the same. MD4 is what I'll call it a lot with technicians. The IntuiTouch screen, get that a lot from the sales into this. But anyway, that MD4 screen is a touch screen. So in the cab, you've got the tabs on the left, the tabs on the right. You can either touch the tab or the button just adjacent to it to do whatever. So the left is the different modes on the truck. Okay, so you got jet, combo, recirc, and if you got the vac on the go, that'll be the lower left tab. If you want to go into those, you can either touch the tab or the button. Okay, same thing on the right. You got the lights and the camera. So if you want to go into those, you can touch the screen or turn them on and off. You can touch the screen or the button to the left of that. All right, and we're going to get more in depth in all those as we go through these screens. Different colors you're going to see. White is backlit. Blue means it's active. Okay, if something on the screen is blue, like on this picture here, we can see the engine's blue, so we know it's running. The transmission's blue, that tells me it's shifted. It's in fourth gear lockup. If we had like jet mode, if it was active, that tab will be blue, that button will be blue. Okay, so blue, it's on, it's active. Red is e-stop, so everything's shut off on the truck. There's a couple other colors, amber and green, but we don't use those for normal operation. So the big thing for you to know is blue. If it's blue, it's active. It's being either the button itself that tells us what's active, and then on the screen, again, if it's blue, it's active, whatever component it is. All right, different modes. This is actually starting on that worksheet. This is actually starting on page 2. We're going to go through some of this. Okay. And if you guys got questions as we go through this, just unmute yourself and ask away. Okay. Matt walked us through this, was it yesterday or the day before? So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here, but some quick notes here to remind you of some things. You can see in the upper left, it says current mode. This says road. If we were to go to jet mode, it's going to change to jet. That jet tab is going to be blue. If we go to combo, instead of road, it's going to say combo. The combo tab is going to be blue. All right, so depending on what mode, it's going to be displayed there. Okay, going to the different modes. These mode tabs are going to be laid out the same on every truck. Jet's on top, then next one down is combo, then next one down, recirc, if you have that option. And then if you have the vac on the go option, that bottom tab will be for that. Okay, jet is going to be just if you're only going to be using the water and hydraulics, everything but the vacuum system on your truck. To go to jet mode, chassis engine at idle, park brake is set, transmission in neutral. Okay, if you're not there at all 3 of those, you're not going to shift to jet mode. So if you're holding the accelerator pedal, you got the RPM at 1100, it's not going to shift to jet mode. It has to be at idle. Engine at idle, park brake set, transmission neutral, touch the jet tab. You'll see the tab will turn blue when it's fully shifted. You'll see jet in the current mode window, and you'll see the PTOs will turn blue. All right, so that tells us we're all in jet mode. The PTOs are blue, they're running. You're all good. It's happening. Okay, to go to combo mode, chassis engine idle, park brake set, transmission neutral, and like what Matt showed us yesterday, before you touch anything on that screen, put your foot on the brake. Hold that service brake. Leave your foot there. Now you push that combo tab or the button. You'll see the transmission shift. You'll see the transfer case turn blue, depending on if you have a fan, a blower with front blower controls, depending on what the controller does from there. But once it's all shifted, you'll get the message on the bottom there. It says combo engaged. You may exit the cab. Now you take your foot off the brake. Okay, if you don't put your foot on the brake, or you take it off too soon, you'll get the message wasn't shifted. Put your foot on the brake, and it's not going to shift to combo mode. To go back to road mode, we don't have a road mode tab. Let me go back a screen here. Road mode is the upper left button. So there is no tab on the screen to go back to road mode. You just have to use the button. It shifts out a jet, combo, recirc, whatever, and goes right to road mode. All right, shifting between modes, road, jet, combo, all 3 of those, you can shift them from one to the other. It doesn't matter. So you can go from road to jet, road to mode, road to combo, combo to jet, jet to combo, combo to road, jet to mode. It doesn't matter. Recirc. If you want to go to recirc mode, you have to start in jet or combo mode, because if you look at the instructions on the right, that's the on the right there. That's the decal that Matt showed us the other day. But to go to recirc mode, you have to turn the rotor pump on. We want to start getting water going first. So you have to start in jet mode or combo mode. Connect the rotor hose to the connector at the bumper, turn on the rotor pump, And now you can go in here and select recirc mode. Okay. So that's our different modes. We just went through that. Let's see, we covered all of page 2 now already on the worksheet and the top of page 3. Okay, so just some quick things there to go through the different modes. Some things on the two-touch screen on the hose reel. Again, it's touch screen. So there's the tabs on the right. You can either touch the tabs or the buttons, just to adjacent to the tabs. You might have different buttons. The buttons may look different, I should say, on your truck. They've changed the newer trucks have a different view of the buttons. It's very similar to the other button pods on the controls. It works the same way. No difference in the operation of it. The upper left is alarm silence. So again, if you have, say, low water going off, you don't want to hear that alarm hit that button, it stops. And the lower right is the footage counter, a reset. In the top center of that screen is the operational mode. So if we're in road mode, jet mode, combo mode, recirc, whatever mode, it's going to display that mode right there in the top center. And the top left is the control mode. So this is showing the control panel. So you can push buttons on the wireless all you want, wired pendant. You can do that. They're not going to work. The only controls that it's going to be looking at is the control panel on that hose reel. If you turn on the wireless, they'll show wireless, wired pendant. We saw that with Matt. It'll give us the green wired pendant icon there. So whatever we're using to control for the controls is going to be in the upper left. The other thing, this is on page, we're starting here on the worksheet. This is the top of page 12 on that worksheet. Okay, we're going to cover this. That first question, what is the information displayed in the green box? It's the hose reel information. So that first line is the foot per minute. Like I told you earlier, as that hose reel is paying in or paying out, you'll get a value of how fast that hose reel is moving. And then to the right of that is the potentiometer percentage. That is the speed potentiometer, the hose reel speed potentiometer on the control. Give you an indication of the position of that. And then the bottom green line is the footage counter itself. All right, next question down. Well, let's see, the next slide is the blue. So, the next question down then is what information is displayed in the blue box? Water information. So you got the gallons per minute and water PSI. So the operator will monitor that to what they're wanting to do to clean the line. On the right, the gray, let's see, the gray box, which is the next line down, is the chassis RPM. So whatever the chassis engine's running should be displayed there. And then what information is displayed in the orange box? This, if you have a fan, you're going to have fan RPM. If you have a blower, it's going to be blower RPM, and you got to have a vacuum gauge there. And we touched on this already, but just to remind you, if you have the debris body level option and the water level options, you may have one, you may have both. You'll get this graph here. The gold color is for the debris body, how full that is. And then the left is the water level, how full the water level is. In how much water is in all the water tanks on the truck. If you don't have these options, you will not have these bars here, the graphs. All right, the navigation pages. You can see here the home tab is blue. Blue still the same. That's what we're looking at. Blue is what's active. So if we want to go to the different tabs, just push that tab or the button. Okay, and again, home is blue. There is an alternate home screen. So if you touch that home tab is blue already, you can still touch it again. There's an alternate home tab, home screen. It just gives you less information, but it's the more important information for the operator is a little bit bigger. And then there on the bottom, page 12, chassis information. So there on the right, the tabs, the chassis tab, we want to look at chassis information, push the blue tab, or push the tab, it changes to blue. Now we have chassis information. So you can see, again, the one I like is that fuel level. So if the operator is wanting to know how much fuel's in the truck, and instead of climbing up in the cab, stopping what he's doing, climbing up in the cab, he can just go to that, push that chassis tab and look, see how much fuel. But also as technicians, you can look, see oil pressure, coolant temp, voltage. In the upper right is the chassis RPM. Below that gauge is engine hours. So for maintenance, there's a place you can get engine hours. And then below that is a graph for the engine load and the fuel rate. So as this truck is running, it'll graph out those values there. All right. With that, we are ready to go down to Matt. He's going to show us, he's going to be pushing buttons for us while we go through this worksheet. Let me close what I got going here. Okay, we're going to start on page. Okay, we already went through page 1 or page 2, top of page 3. So any questions on shifting to the different modes on these trucks, guys? Okay.
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah.
How's the view of that screen?
It is sideways.
Sideways?
Yeah. Yeah, I have to hold my head sideways to see it. And it's kind of thin.
That's not what it's doing here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's really not a real good view.
Whoa, jeez, I just about threw you on the floor.
There we go. Now we got it.
That doesn't make any sense. It's right side up here. So. Can you see the screen clearly? I'm outside with the truck running, so that way we can do the PTOs. But if you can't see the screen, I can pull the truck back in and turn it off. So that's why I'm asking, because
that's okay. That's
okay. I just otherwise doing the hydro thing, and we just do that real quick and go back inside.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all. If it's fine, then I'll just let truck run and I'll become your fingers.
All right. We're good though. So.
Okay.
All right. You said something about PTOs there, Matt. Something I should have brought up with the PowerPoint here. Just so you guys know about this, you can see that screen that Matt's looking at there. Just as technicians, again, there's so much information I want to share with you guys that you know. You can see on the screen there with Matt, there's 2 PTOs, PTO A and PTO B. You guys may only have one PTO on your screen. Don't panic with that. Yeah, you may have only PTO A. That determines if you have A only or A and B, determines on which transmission you have. If you have an Allison 3000 transmission, you're going to have both PTO A and B. If you have the Allison 4000, you'll only see PTO A on your screen. Okay, just so you guys aren't confused when you go to look at your screen and you only see one PTO. So depends on what PTO or what transmission you have on your truck. All right, with that, let's start on the bottom of page 3. We're going to start going down the tabs on the right. So the very top tab is strobe lights. Real easy. You push that tab, it turns blue. The button turns blue. Now, whatever strobe light you have on your truck, they're all running. If you only have one strobe light that's on, if you have 5, they're all on. Okay. If you hold that tab for like 2 seconds, we change screens. And we can see on this truck, it only has the DOT strobes. Okay, if there's multiple strobes now, there'd be tabs on the left where we can turn them on and off individually. We can turn them on, we can turn them off here on the screen, on this screen. Then in the middle of the screen, you can see, yeah, that one, oh, mirror strobes. So yeah, you could have mirror strobes. It'd give us a different tab on the left to turn those on. So again, depending on what strobes you have on your truck, how many tabs, how many lines you're going to have there. So in the middle of that screen, you can see the green boxes, DOT. You see the system green box, relay green box, and then the green box under the fuse. The fuse panel on these trucks are on the CAN bus. So we can communicate, we can monitor the relays and the fuses on these. All right, the green box for the system basically says, I saw you request it to come on. I saw that button being pushed. Turns on that green box. Hey, we're good. The relay's good. We get the green box. The fuse is good. We get the green box. If the relay or the fuse wasn't working, we would not get that green box. So if you have a light that's not working, very quick, easy page to go to check the fuse and relay. A good diagnostic page there. That's quick and easy to go to. You can have your operator, if they're talking to you on the phone, an easy screen for them to go to and ask them if they got the green box. All right, to go back to the home page, the bottom right, you see home. Okay, so we're on the top of page 4 now. So the next tab down is arrow. Yep. So the arrow, you push that, the arrow's going. Whatever pattern. See, that looks, I can't see that. It looks like both. So whatever pattern was chosen, it's going. Arrow board is going. Okay, there's different patterns we can do. If you double tap it quick, you can change patterns. You got left, you got right, you got both, you got wig-wag. But you can see Matt there, he's double tapping it and he can change. It takes a little practice to really get that down good, but you can change patterns that way. Or if you hold that tab down for the 2 seconds, change the screen. Now we can change the different patterns here. If we want just the left, just the right, both, or wig-wag. Okay, so you can change the pattern that way. The home page down the bottom right again. We can go back to the home page, and then the next tab down is work lights. You touch that tab or the button, they turn blue. Every work light that's on this truck now is illuminated. Okay, if you have just one work light that's on, again, 5 work lights, they're all on. Hold that button or hold that tab for 2 seconds, changes the screen. So we can see on the left, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rear, manhole, boom, side work lights. So we can turn them all on, turn them all off there. We can turn them on and off individually on the tabs on the left. Okay. And then also we have in the middle, again, we got the green boxes, system, relay, fuse, for each of those lights. So again, if one of those lights aren't working, go here, make sure we get all the green boxes. All right. All right, we can go back to the home page. Again, it's bottom right. See, so now we are on the top of page, and we're making good time here, I think. Top of page 5. Okay, you touch the camera tab. Now we're looking at the rear camera. It's not liking that camera, but we can look at the other cameras. Yeah, I don't know why it's not seeing that rear camera. But we can, in theory, we can look at the other cameras. Your truck should have the rear camera. Okay, you can have an option for just the front and rear, and then there's an option for all four. So you got the front, rear, left, and right. So you can go here. You can look at other cameras if you have those. You can select those on the left. On the right, you can look at two cameras at the same time. So you can look at the front and rear at the same time, or both the left and right at the same time. And then the other tab on the right is you can look at all four cameras at the same time. But like I said, the cameras, which cameras you have, is an option. You are going to have the rear, and so you can have an option for the front and rear, and an option for all four of those cameras. All right, and then the last note, well, a couple notes on the cameras. The rear camera, when you shift to reverse, that rear camera should come on that screen. And then if you use your turn signals, if you have the left and right cameras, when you use your turn signals, that camera should come on. All right, and then the last note for the camera tab, I bring this up because I've had this a couple times. I pointed out the home tab is on the bottom right, so is that camera tab. Okay, when you touch that camera tab, give it a second to change. I've had a couple guys tell me I try to go to the camera, it goes to that screen and goes right back to home. Talking to him, eventually I figured out what was happening was he touched the camera tab and they wouldn't give it that second. He was expecting it to change just bang, bang. Well, he's double tapping it. So it'd go to the camera page real quick and go right back to the home page. So touch that camera tab, give it a second to change the tab or the screen. All right, with that, let's bottom page 5. Again, if you have questions or if we're going too fast, guys, just say something. So there is the settings. There's a lot of information here that I want technicians to know. You saw Matt push that gear icon on the screen. Yeah, go back so we can see that one more time right there. That gear icon. Touch that. It's going to take you to the settings page. Okay, we'll start there at the top, modes. Okay, so we're going to go through all these tabs, but we'll start with mode. And we can go into these. Again, we can select which mode we want. It doesn't matter, Matt. I like to go to jet mode, but it doesn't really matter because these are all basically the same. What we can do here, you can see the work lights on the left column, and then you see the warning lights, and then the arrow boards on the bottom right. You can touch those, drop down that menu. Select auto on. Okay, so you can select which lights you want to come on. If you select, well, right now all the work lights are auto on, except the bottom one. So now when he shifts that to jet mode, the hose reel, the side, and the rear work lights are going to come on. Okay, so this makes that setup for the operator easier. But for technicians, I want you guys to be aware of that in case if someone comes to you saying this light's coming on when I'm not expecting it to. I want you guys to know about this. So again, he's got this set up so some of those work lights and the strobe lights will come on when you go to jet mode. The arrow board, you can select which pattern you want. Whichever, auto, left, right, both, wigwag, whatever. So he just set it for wigwag. So again, he's just to jet mode. That arrow board comes on automatically wigwag. Okay, great. Operator sets up easy that way. Again, technicians, I want you to aware of that so you're not chasing up some bogus diagnostic path. But something, a tip for you guys is go back and go to road mode. Now what you want to do is set those, everyone you set to auto on or a different pattern. set those to auto off. So now when he's done at that job site, he shifts that to road mode. Now all those lights will go off. All right. Again, technicians, I want you guys to be aware of this. All right. So now we can go to the different modes, combo mode, recirc, whatever. If the operator knows he wants this work light on, the arrow board, this pattern, warning lights going on at certain modes, he can set them on, turn those on to come on automatically. All right, let's go back out of this. Let's see, the next one down is lights and strobes. Back to the settings page and lights and strobes. Yeah, let's pick work lights, the top one there. Okay, you see that very first line, it says single press operation. I told you guys from that home screen, you touch that work light tab, every work light comes on. You can go here. Now he's just turned off the hose reel and the boom work lights. So now with that single press operation on the home page, those two lights will not come on, just the side and rear. So again, as technicians, I want you guys to be aware of this. So if the operator comes and says, I push that tab on the hose reels on the home screen, only the side and rear came on, none of the others, there's a problem with those. Don't forget about this setting. So you can select which ones you do not want to come on with that single press operation. And then on the right, you can see the rear lights on with reverse, the rear work lights. If you don't want that trigger, you can turn that trigger off there. Again, as technicians, you guys need to remember this. All right, so let's go back out. Let's see, which page are we on? So again, if I'm going too fast for this worksheet, guys, say something, slow down or something. Yeah, we're on page 7. Work lights, strobe. Let's see the next one. Yeah, strobe lights. That's right. Yeah, let's go to the strobe lights. That's the next one down. Again, the single press operation. We'll turn on all of them. This one we only have the one light, but if you had multiple, you can select which ones you do not want to come on, or the ones you do want to come on with that single press operation. And then you can see on the bottom where Matt was moving that, the strobe lights on with reverse. If you don't want that, you can turn that trigger off on that page. Okay. Again, technicians, you guys need to know this. And then the arrow board is the bottom one. Go to the arrow board, and now we can pick. There's that drop-down box. Right now it says both. So with the single press operation on the home page, we can select which pattern we want. So, right now, while it was set on both, if the operator comes to you and says, it says both, I don't know how to change it, or if I always have to go to the other screen to check to change the pattern, you can select it there, whichever pattern you want with that single press operation on the home page. Okay. And then the trigger, both arrows on with the hazards. If you don't want that trigger, you can turn that trigger off. All right, that takes us to the top of page 8. It is 10:09. We're doing good. So back to the settings page. The next one down is camera. So here, this is our camera triggers. So like I said, if you've got all 4 cameras, well, if you're going to have the rear camera on your truck, and it should come on the rear camera view should come on that display when you shift to reverse. If you don't want that trigger, you can turn that off here. If you've got the side cameras, they should come on that screen when you turn that turn signal on. If you don't want those triggers, you can turn it off here. So again, as technicians, if you get an operator saying, hey, I expected the side cameras to come on when I turn my turn signals on, they're not, there's something wrong. Instead of you going down some bogus diagnostic path, where's this trigger at? All right, let's go back out of this. And the next one down is brightness, I believe. And display brightness. Go to there. Now we can select how bright we want this screen. If it's right now, it's the daytime set at 100%. If it's cloudy out, you don't want that blaring at you. You can reset that. You can see how the brightness is changing as he's sliding that. All right. Then there's next line down is the nighttime brightness. Okay. Right now it's at 20%. It's night. The moon's up, or maybe the clouds out. You can't even see the moon. A lot of darkness. You don't want this real bright blaring at you. So you see Matt's pointing at that button there on the lower left. He pushes that button, it's going to go to that 20%. Okay, all right, yeah, so you can see it's changing the brightness now. And then if you hit that button again, it goes back to the daytime brightness. The other thing you can do, again, so you technicians know, if you hold that button, it's like 2 seconds, it turns that display off. It turns the illumination off. Things are still working in the background, what needs to be, but it's just all the illumination's off. Push that button again and it all comes back on. All right, let's go back out. And I think the next one down is date and time. Yeah, date and time. So if you need to change the date or the time, here's a place to do it. See, let's see, yeah, we've got the same right date. The time is right too, but like daytime savings time, if it needs to change the date or the time, we can go in here. He selected time, so now we can change the hour or the minute. You can see each side of those values. There's plus or minus. If you touch those, it's going to change that value. And actually what it will do is give you the parentheses above it where we started at. You can see he changed it to 21. Above that in the parentheses is 10. If he wants to change that 21, he hits the check mark. If you want to go back to the 10, he'll hit that X, and it goes back to 10. Okay, quick note here. You saw it go from 10. You scrolled it up to 21. This is a 24-hour clock. There is no 12-hour option. It's 24 hours. So there's no, don't waste your time looking for 12. It's 24 only. You can change the date the same way. If you touch that line, it just drops that down, and you can hit the plus or minus to change those values.
Wait, this is just burning my brain up. Why, whenever it was displaying 21, was there a 10 above it?
That's where he started at. It started at 10. He hit that.
Oh, okay. I was fixing to say that was burning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if he wants, you saw he wanted to go back to 10. He just hit that X, and it went back to the value.
Okay, yeah, well, the reason it was burning my brain up, with it being a 10 and 21, I was like, no, 21 is not 10. That's 9 p.m. for civilian-minded people.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, now it makes sense.
It just gives you the value of where we started at before we hit the plus or minus box. Okay. All right. Good question, though. All right. Let's go back out. Now we're on top of page 9. I got to turn the page. The last one there is user preferences. I'm thinking this screen's going to be blank, but let's see real quick. Yeah, this one's blank. So if you look there on page 9, right there in the middle, page 9, that's options you can see on this that you can see on your truck. Okay, that first one is the load limit. Okay, that is, I told you guys about this, that option on your truck that'll give you that graph on the screen to tell the operator how full that debris body is. Okay, you can select at what percent you want that load limit alarm to come on. You can see, I'm just looking at the worksheet. because our truck there with Matt does not have any of those options on these trucks, on this truck. So the load limit, if you want the alarm to come on at 95%, you'll just leave it there. If you want it to come on at 50% for maybe a weight limit, you can set that. Again, as technicians, you guys need to know this. In case if someone got in there and changed this value, now someone else is operating this truck and they're getting an alarm or something when they're not expecting it. You go down some bogus diagnostic path, wasting all kinds of time. Where is this value set at? The next line down is the low water level. Again, that's the option with the graph on the screen that tells you how full the water tanks are. Okay. If you want that low water alarm to come on, you can see on that page it's 10%. You want to leave the operator some water to finish up the job, maybe wash their hands and stuff. So setting that at 0 makes no sense to me. But let's say you want it at 20%. You want to save a little more water to finish up. You can set that value there. Just slide that button to whatever percentage you want. Okay. And then the last 2 lines is for the continuous fill option. That's the one where you leave the truck hooked up to the fire hydrant, and you can set at what point the water, how full the water tanks are, at what point you want the valve to open to fill the tanks, and then at what point that it gets high enough where you want that valve to shut off to stop filling the water tanks. So again, it depends on which options you have on your truck. You know, like we saw the truck that Matt has, it has none of those options, so it's all blank. If you only have one of those options, or all 4 of those options, or 3 options, there it is. So depending on which options are on your truck, what you're going to see on that screen. All right, make sense to you guys? All right, let's go ahead and top of page 10. So we'll go back to the home page. And next there on top of page 10 is reports. A lot of places don't even look at this, but just so you know what this is, if you touch that button there, we get the job reports. Okay, all these values, this value here, I explain it this way. Let's say the operator's got 3 manhole covers he's going to clean. He's going to clean 500 feet on one, 300 another, and 400 in another. He goes to the first one. He gets the truck running. As he's cleaning that line, all these values accumulate. Okay, it just keeps going and going. He gets the job done. He cleans up the job site, packs the truck up. He climbs in the cab. This information is still there. He puts the truck into road mode. He drives 10 miles, 2 miles, 100 miles, whatever, however long it takes. All this information is still there. He gets to that second job site. He puts that truck in neutral. This information is still there. He sets that park brake. That information is still there. He shifts that to jet or combo mode. It resets these values. Okay, so these are jobs. So whenever you go back into jet or combo is when these will reset to 0 or start over again. All right. The tabs on the right, you see, you can see the job tab is blue. The tab below that is trip. If you were to touch that, okay, these values are going to accumulate as long as you let it accumulate. You can, if it's you want to know what the operator does for the whole day, you can let it go all day. You can let all week if you want, all month, all year. The only time these are going to be reset is if you hit that reset tab in the upper left. Okay, so like I said, you can let that go as long as you want. Okay, and then there he just reset all those. And then the lowest on the lower right is the lifetime tab. These are going to accumulate over the lifetime of the truck. You're not. There's no resetting of this information. It just keeps accumulating, keeps going and going and going. So, all right. Like I said, some places use this information, some don't even care.
Wait,
Well,
when did you say job reports were reset?
The trip,
No, the job report.
the job report, those will only reset when you go back into jet or combo mode.
Okay, all right.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, then it'll reset itself.
Yes. Yeah. It'll reset itself. Yeah. 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 That's the job report. The trip, you can reset that with the tab. Yeah. Lifetime. No. There is no resetting that. You can't do that. So let's see. We're ready to go back to the home page. Let's go ahead and finish this up, Matt, before we go on to the final. That's not on the worksheet. So a hidden button here is the transfer case. If you touch that transfer case, you get the transfer case transmission screen. Okay, in the upper left, you can see the first line there, work / road transfer case. Okay, the lines there you see work mode output is not green. Road mode output is green. Work mode ball switch is not green, but road mode ball switch is green, and the park brake is green. So that tells me the road mode output's on, the road mode ball switch is met, and the park brake is set. This is a good screen to go to if you're having issues shifting to the different modes. First off, if the park brake's not set, that's going to be pretty easy. You don't have the green box there. Set that park brake. If it's set, then you probably have a switch problem. But again, the road mode, work mode ball switches, like I said earlier, you should always see one or the other. You should never see both, or you should never see neither. And then the work mode output and the road mode output, same thing. You should always see one or the other, never both, never neither. And then they should match. The road mode output, if that green box is on, you should get you should be getting the road mode ball switch green box. All right. This, again, a note for you guys, so you're not confused. This is the shifting of the transfer case. In jet mode, that transfer case is not shifted. So don't let that throw you for a loop. Okay. You're in jet mode, you're expecting, hey, I'm working on this truck, I should be in work mode. No, the transfer case is not shifted. Okay, the only time that transfer case is shifted is when you go to combo mode. When you go to combo mode, we're using the vacuum source. All right, so you shift to jet mode. I would expect road mode output and the road mode ball switch to be met here. Okay, so don't let that confuse you guys. All right, and then on the right side of this screen is a gear, requested gear, selected gear, actual gear, shaft speeds, things like that. And then the bottom right is Allison. Allison wires 101, 122, 123. That's for controls of the Allison. Again, we should only have green boxes there when we're when we've got the transfer case shifted. We're in work mode. All right. Again, just another screen to go to if we're having some trouble shifting to the different modes. All right, let's go back to the home page. That's everything on the worksheet for the in-cab. But there is a couple things I want to show you guys before we leave the screen here. Okay, you see the engine blue, the transmission's gray, and you see that green icon right below the transmission. Okay, this is our hydro excavation mode. This started 2 years ago in January. we started doing this. When I was explaining to you guys the potentiometer for the water pressure, I told you guys to start with the low, turn on that rotor pump, and turn that potentiometer until you achieve that pressure you're expecting. No reason to go any further. Okay. Well, a lot of operators don't understand that. They just crank that all the way up. They're using this truck for hydro excavator. Like I said yesterday, they turn that all the way up. It's trying to pump out 80 gallon per minute, but their nozzle is only going to let them do 7 gallon minutes. So all that extra, that 70 some gallons per minute is going over relief, building up heat. So what this does is when you touch, if you're going to hydro excavate with this truck, touch that that hydro excavation tab, that icon, it turns blue, and it will turn off PTO-B. So now instead of trying to pump out 80 gallon, it's pumping 40 gallon, depending on which pumps you have. It's going to be somewhere along there. All right, so we've kind of addressed that. It gives the operator more time before he's overheating the truck. All right, everyone follow that okay? Okay, so if that icon is green, that one of those hydraulic pumps is disabled. The only way you're going to turn that off is if you touch that again and it turns gray. Okay, you can shift to different modes. You can, there you can see he just went to jet mode, so only PTO-A is going. He hit it again, now PTO-B is going. All right, but you can go to road mode, jet mode, combo mode, recirc mode. That is always going to be active. As long as it's green, one of those hydraulic pumps is disabled. Again, you can go different modes all day. It's going to stay active. You can turn the truck off, start it back up. It's still going to be active. Except about a year ago, last March, they did change that aspect of it. So if you've got a truck older than March last year, what they changed is when you turn the truck off and back on, it does turn that mode off. Okay, but otherwise, you change those all day, it just stays on. Again, as technicians, you guys need to know this. If they turn that icon on, one of the hydraulic pumps is disabled. So now they're only going to get max 40 gallon per minute. Okay, they were hydro excavating. They did great. They turned this on. They didn't overheat the truck. Okay, next day or later in the day, they're trying to clean the line. They're calling you up going, hey, I'm expecting 80 gallon per minute. I'm only getting 40-ish. What color is that icon? Okay, if they forgot to turn that off, they're only going to get that. They're expecting 80, they're only getting 40. They're calling you on the phone going, hey, you got to fix this rotor pump. Instead of tearing that rotor pump apart, turn that mode off. There's also that same icon on the screen on the hose reel. Okay, so that gives the operator an indication of, oh yeah, that's right, I see that, it's green. So when that mode is on, you'll get that icon on the screen on the hose reel. Also, give them the visual of that mode is on. All right, everyone follow that okay? Again, just some things I want you guys to know about that. So, yep. That's all the worksheet for the screen and the cab. We're ready to go to the worksheet on the hose reel screen. We got a half hour yet, so we should be able to get through a good chunk of the screen on the hose reel. So we'll need to get Matt a little bit of time to get set up on the hose reel screen. But we've covered page 12 already. I don't know that we're going to get through the whole worksheet here, but we'll we'll get through some of it and we'll stop it at our mark for lunch. Any questions on the screens in the cab?
Yes, I was just wondering if the mechanics work on it and you got the operators, can mechanics set a password or a code so the operators can't readjust anything on it, on the settings?
No, there is no way to set up a password to stop that. No.
Okay.
That is something that's been presented to engineering here, actually. But as of today, no, there's no setting up a password so they can't get into that.
So you got a lot of operators gonna be fooling with it, and other operators get in it and bring it to us and say something wrong with it.
There's that possibility, yes. That's why I want you guys to know about this, so you're not, like I said, going down some bogus diagnostic path.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I want you guys well informed. Don't want you guys wasting time when you shouldn't be. So we are ready to start on top of page 13 of that worksheet, and we're just going to go down the questions here for the most part. The in-cab, I just kind of I talked my way through that one, I guess. So starting on top of page 13 on that worksheet. Okay, he's got us, we can actually see both screens here. He's actually on the display here.
That hydro excavator mode, if you update the modules for the ones older than March of last year, will that stop it from turning off after you turn the vehicle off and on?
Yeah, if you get the newer software, yeah, it'll work with the newer controls. Yep. So yeah, if you update that for some reason, that answer your question, okay?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. All right. Top of page 13, from the home screen, touch the system tab. So on the right, you can see it says home, chassis, and then system is the next one down. So we'll touch that tab, and we should get the screen that we see on the worksheet. So yeah, again, you can push the tab or the button. It doesn't matter which. So that first question there, what is the truck serial number that's displayed on your screen? You can see in the column on the left, the second line down, it says serial number. This is not a truck. What we're looking at, it's our display that Matt's built down there. So it doesn't really have a truck serial number, but you should have a serial number. We went through the serial number Tuesday morning, so it should have a serial number there. So again, if you call it Vactor Service or your dealer, they're going to want to know your serial number. So that's another place to find the serial number. Okay, next question down, what is the program number? So the next line down, you can see V1R32. Okay, you just had the question about uploading the newer software. That's the number they're going to be looking at. If you call up Vactor Service and with an issue and they think software might going to address that issue, they're going to ask you what software is in there, or they very well might ask what software. That's where you find that. See, next question down. This is just, this whole worksheet is just to get you pushing buttons, looking for information, so you kind of get an idea where information is, how to find it, how to get there. Okay, so that next question down, which cameras are on your truck? You can see, let's see, just down a couple more lines, it says front and rear. Yeah, right there. So again, if your truck, it's going to have rear, but if you have other cameras, it will be listed there. Next question down, which transmission does your truck have? Thinking that was on the upper right. So this says Allison 3000 dual PTO. Like I told you guys, if you have the Allison 4000, you're just going to have the one PTO. All right, then next question, what is the vacuum source? That's about in the middle of the right column there. That you see PD, positive displacement. So that tells us it's a blower unit. If it's a fan, it'll say fan. Next question down is what is the boom type? So you can see, a couple lines down from that is 10 by 15. That's the RDB boom. If you got the telescopic or the 5x5, will be listed there. And then the last question, what component is used for the water level? You can see right there it says sensor. Okay, so this gives us a graph on the screen that tells us how full the water tanks are. If you didn't have that option, it'll say float. All right, then there at bottom page 13, along the bottom part of the screen is a list of options available for the truck. What does it mean when a green box is next to an option in this list? Anybody have any thoughts on the answer to that question? I'd like to throw that out to you guys. If there's a green box, it means that option is enabled. Okay, it doesn't mean that like you see on the screen there, there along the bottom on the left column, boom work lights. Okay, you can see he's turned on those work lights. It doesn't mean the work lights are on. It means that option is enabled. So you can turn on and off that the lights or whatever options are listed there. So you can see in the bottom right, vac on the go. This doesn't have that option. No green box. So no matter what we try to do with this truck, we're not going to get the vac on the go working on this truck unless we install that option. Quick note on the options. The wire harnesses on these trucks have all the wiring for all the options. So let's say you don't have the side work lights on your truck, but I want to add that option. The wiring's there already. You just have to mount the work lights. The wire's there. Plug it in. The switch is already on the switch pod. Turn on that option. You're good to go. So the other note I throw at you guys with this screen. This is good information to have in the future. If you need to upload the new software, they need this information. This information is on the screen to reconfigure the whole setup of the truck. So take a picture of this screen or write all this information down. Just makes that job a lot easier. Okay. Like the question was, if I put the new software in it, that hydro excavation package turn on and off with a key, will that work? Yeah, if you've got the software version, the right program number. But to loading up that software, we have to reconfigure it, and we need this information here. So take a picture of it, write it down, put it in a file, and save it for future reference if you need to. If you don't do that, you can't get that information from Vactor Service. It's just going to take them some time to gather all that information together to get for you. So this makes things easier for you guys there. All right, actually, I skipped a question there. There on the top right question, what is the transfer case ratio? Again, it's on that screen right in the middle of the right column. You see 40 teeth, 1 to 1.275. So sorry, I did catch that. I missed that question. So, all right, let's top of page 14. See, we've got another 20 minutes. So let's go on the right. You see the tabs on the right. Other screens we can go into. So we'll go into the functions tab. Again, this worksheet is just to get you guys pushing buttons, finding out where information is, how to get there, and what information's there. So that first question, how many function screens are accessible from the screen? I don't really care how many numbers you come up with. Just, I want you to know how to get there and what you're going to be able to find here. What are the tabs on the far right of the screen used for? You see Matt working with those. The up and down arrow buttons. You can see on the screen that's outlining the different tabs in blue. So with the up and down arrow button, you can highlight it. Then if you hit that check mark, it's going to go to that screen there. Okay, you can use the buttons or the tabs. And then the last question, is there another way to do the same thing as the tabs? Yeah, just touch the tab that you want. Just touch that and it's going to go into there. With that, before we go any further, Matt, let's go to the modes. This isn't on the worksheet, but we'll jump in here real quick. The interlocks, yeah. Sorry, Matt. That interlock in the upper left. Again, if you're having issues with shifting to different modes, this is a good screen to go to. You can see in the upper left which mode we're in right now. Actual mode and requested mode is road mode. That box that he just pointed to is a drop-down box. You touch that, and now we can go to the different modes to look at the interlocks. The very first line, allow request. We got the green box, so it's going to allow us that request. If we didn't have that green box, if it was a red box, we'd look underneath there. Yeah, like that line he pointed to, not in drive mode. Like if we were we had the transfer case shifted to drive, we'd get a red box there. Let's see, not in drive mode and not in back in the go mode. So anyway, if we weren't allowed requests, if there was a red box, we'd look underneath to see which one's red. Allow request, a couple lines down there, you can see his green box. We're allowed to request. If we weren't, yeah, we'd look down there and see why, what's red, why we weren't allowed that request. And then mode active, again, it is active, so we got the green box there. If it was a red box, we'd look down below there, see what's red, why it's not active. Drop down that menu, we can go to the different modes. He went to jet mode. We are allowed that request. Okay, we're in road mode, but it's going to allow us that request if we want to shift there. We haven't requested it, so we've got the red box. If we were to push that button or the tab, we'll get the box underneath one of the boxes underneath that request will go green. Mode active. Right now it's red because we're in road mode. Okay, so again, if you're having trouble shifting, there he just shifted to jet mode. The request went green because he requested it. You can see it's actually in jet mode. The mode is active. Everyone's happy. Everything's green. So again, if you're having trouble shifting to a certain mode, go to that drop down box, go to that mode, see where the red boxes are. All right, make sense to you guys? All right. Oh yeah, the combo mode, the loud request. You can see it's red right now, and you can go line below that. The service brake. Yeah, see, it wouldn't let them shift because the brake light wasn't on, or the brake pedal wasn't pushed. Allow request is red box. Look for the red box underneath there. He didn't have the brake set. Now he does. Now we can. It allows us to request, and it's active. You can see in the upper left, the combo's on. Everyone's happy. Yep, combo, everything's good, everyone's happy. So again, if you're having trouble, go there, go to the drop down box, which mode you're having an issue with. Look for green boxes. So all right. Yeah, let's go back to the home page. We've got another 15 minutes here. So we're at the middle of page 14. Okay, this says with the key on, engine off, put the truck in jet mode. Okay, I wanted you to do this for a couple reasons. I'm gonna have you guys pushing buttons, moving joysticks. With the truck not running, the hydraulic pump's not going to be turning. You're not going to be moving things and not knowing that. I thought it'd be safer for you guys just to have the key off so nothing's going to move when you're doing this. The other thing is, if you're trying to diagnose something on these trucks, looking at inputs, outputs that we're going to be looking at, you got to have it in jet or combo mode. Otherwise, we're not going to get values. The other thing you're going to see with the key on, engine off, you're going to get you got that message there. Matt's going to give us here in a minute. All right, key on, engine off, you're going to get a message. Okay, read this. Allison, transmission PTO request ignored. Read that message, guys. I don't care what message it is. Read the whole thing. The Allison transmission failed to give consent to the engine. Yeah, 1046. Oh, yeah, take a picture of it. Everyone has a phone on them, so have them take a picture of it so you can read it. Basically, what this is saying is we didn't allow the request for the PTO because the engine's not running. Okay, so I would expect you guys to get that on your truck if you go through this worksheet. So again, just another reason why I wanted you guys to key on, engine off, so you can see a message, read it, so you can kind of understand some information you'll see on these on the messages. All right, let's see. When you do this, you'll get a message on the cab and on the hose reel. Are they the same? Yes, they're the same message. And then why do you get the message? I just explained it, because the engine's not running. The system didn't allow it. All right. There along the bottom, page 14 on the left. Leave the truck in jet mode for the following screens. From the function screen, go to the hydraulics. Are any PTOs engaged? If you're at your truck with the engine, with the key on, engine off, no PTOs will be on. But if you have it running like our display is, we're getting PTO A, but no PTO B. Normally, when you turn the key on, you go to jet or combo, both PTOs are on. Why aren't we getting PTO B on here? Anybody have any thoughts? There you go. The HXX mode, the hydro exclamation mode's on. So you can see it green. If he hits that, we're going to get both PTO B, A and B. So, all right. Next question: what is the hydraulic fluid temperature? You can see on the right side there it says temperature. We've got the potentiometers on this display, so we can dial in what temperature we want. But on your truck, if you want to know what the temperature is, there's where you find that. And see then the last question on the left: how would you go back to the function screen? Again, it's upper right. There's a back arrow button there, so we go back to the function screen. All right, we've got another 10 minutes here. Let's go to the alarm screen. We're not going to go into every functions on this page, but we're going to go into enough where you guys have a pretty good idea what's going on here. So the alarm screen, first question, is the low water in the audible alarm group or the sensor faults group? So you can see in this page, this screen, there's audible alarm on the left and sensor faults on the right. So again, just so you guys know where information is, how to get there. He turned on the water. We're getting the low water alarm. Yeah, so we're seeing the alarm, saw the red box, and then now you see that it was silenced. All right, the next question down is the hydraulic shutdown in the audible alarm group or the sensor faults group. So if I remember right, it's just a couple lines down in the audible alarm group. Then the blower temp, is it in the audible alarm or sensor faults? There, he just created a high hydraulic temp. You can see the red box, the alarm's going off. Silence it, get the green box there. But the blower temp is in the sensor faults there on the top, and then the hydraulic temp, the audible alarm group or the sensor faults. The high temp is a couple of lines down in the sensor faults, I believe. Yeah, right, kind of in the middle there. Yeah, right up, yeah, right there, the high temp. So again, just so you guys know where information is, how to get there, how to navigate there. All right, let's go top of page 15 on the worksheet. See, we'll go to, from the function screen, go to the water screen. Okay, the first question, what is a panel multi-flow set at? So that's right at the top of the middle column. You can see yeah, right there. Yeah, right. It's at 21%. Yeah. So that really tells you what position that potentiometer is set at, the multi-flow for more or less water flow. That value should change. That value should change as you move that potentiometer. Okay, it should start low. As you go into the high, it should ramp up smoothly. It should not jump around. Okay. Next question, rotate the multi-flow potentiometer. What is the multi-flow minimum and maximum? There's right there, maximum 99, might jump to 100. And then the minimum, if I remember right, minimum was 0%. Was the minimum? Yeah, 0%. So again, as you turn that potentiometer, so what we're doing, that we're looking at that input from that potentiometer. So if you have an operator saying, I can't control the pressure, there's one thing to look at. Are you getting this input? All right. Next question down, turn on the rotor pump and answer the following questions. First question, as you rotate the multi-flow potentiometer, what is the comp minimum and maximum value? So again, in that center column, right in the middle of that center column, right now it's 1299 milliamps. Okay, that's the max. And then the minimum value we can get goes down to 604 milliamps. All right, that is the output going to the remote compensator to control the rotor, not the rotor pumps, the hydraulic pumps for more or less flow. So that screen, we got the input from the potentiometer, and then the output that's going to the remote compensator for that control. And then a note that a couple guys has noticed, right now our lowest comp setting, and you can see the panel multi-flow, that input value is the highest value. So it's kind of backwards if you think about that. You turn that potentiometer down to low, gets to 0, but it's actually our highest comp value. So just something that I find interesting to point at you guys. All right. The question there on the water screen, the bottom left on the water screen there, of the top half of that page, which directional valve output is on? So you can see kind of not all the way in the bottom left, but kind of lower center of that screen that we're looking at with Matt. Directional valve B is output. Output now it's just shifted to A. Going back, now output B comes on. Okay, this is what you're going to see with the rotor pump working. That green line going back and forth, this system is seeing that linear sensor. Okay, I told you guys with that magnet on that linear sensor, we can see where that rotor pump is at, the whole stroke of that pump. So it gets to the end of that stroke, it turns off one output and turns on the other output, sends it back the other direction, gets to the end of that stroke, it turns off that output and turns on the other output. All right. Yeah, you can see right above the direction valve A and B outputs, there's actual flow. He's doing that. We're getting 100 gallons per minute, 140, 150 gallons per minute. That's pretty good. All right, the upper right on page 15. What is the rotor pump position? So again, he's on the display, so we can manipulate some things. We've got that set up so we can simulate the rotor pump going back and forth. So you can see on the bottom center of that screen, rotor pump position, 17.92 inches. So as that rotor pump shifts back and forth, that value is going to change. Okay, that sensor is what, 22 inches, something like that. So from the connector end, that magnet is 17.92 inches from that connector end. All right, next question, what is endpoint A? You can see the bottom left, endpoint A is 3 inches. And then what is endpoint B? You can see endpoint B is 17 inches. Okay, those are the points where it wants to shift directions. Okay, so when that rotor pump position value gets to 3 inches, it's going to turn off that output, directional valve output, and turn on the other one to send it back the other way. It gets to 17 inches, it's going to turn off that other directional valve output and turn on the other one to send it back the other way. That makes sense to you guys? Okay, so a lot of good information on that screen. Okay, last two questions. Is the rotor pump blocking valve active? So you see right above, yeah, where he's pointing at there, no green box. That blocking valve is not active. Okay, turn off the rotor pump. We had the rotor pump on. Now he turned it off. Our directional valves both turned off. That tells me he turned it off too. And now our blocking valve is active. Remember when I talked about that blocking valve yesterday? So now we don't have any hydraulic flow to that directional valve, that spool, to bypass there to build up heat and overheat the hydraulics. All right. There's a lot of good information on that page for you guys there. So it is 10:58. So instead of going to the next, the hose reel screen, we'll pick up after lunch right here. So we'll stop here. Of course, I'm going to, anyone has any questions before we break for lunch? I'm throwing a lot of information at you guys, so if I'm going too fast or something, just, hey, slow down, Jerry, or say that again. But if there's no questions, we'll stop for lunch here, and we'll see you guys in 2 hours. All right, perfect. All right, we'll pick up on the hose reel screen when we get back from lunch. All right, thanks, guys.